34 people died and 28 people were seriously injured in one of the most devastating construction failures in our country's recent history. The collapse of a multi-story residential building at 75 Victoria Street here in George. We remember every life lost. We mourn every dream of a future life that was cut short that day. We honor and we thank our brave men and women, as well as their canines, in the South African Police Service, who work day and night to lead the rescue and recovery effort at that site. We also thank Captain Johan de Lange and his team of investigators for building a strong legal case which in time to come will bring justice for those victims who passed and those who are with us today. We honor the brave men and women from our emergency services who worked tirelessly for 11 long days in an attempt to save those trapped under the rubble. They are heroes who worked through the most difficult circumstances, day and night, to rescue survivors. We feel the pain of families whose fathers did not come home to read their daughters and sons bedtime stories that night, or to kiss their wives goodnight. We are weighed down by the lifelong wait until we see them in heaven again. Time stands still while never truly stopping to grieve. We stand beside every family still grieving, and we recognize every survivor who carries the physical and emotional scars of that day. This tragedy should never have happened, and as a government, and as a country, and as human beings, we must be honest about that. It was preventable, and because of that, it should never happen again. The lives lost on the 6th of May cannot and should not be in vain. To honor their memories, we are compelled to strengthen accountability, to fix regulatory failures, and to put public safety first. This would be a fitting tribute to them, and it is the least that we can do. We must resist the temptation to reduce this tragedy to a point-scoring exercise. It is insulting to the families and to the memories of those who perished. What happened in George is not an opportunity to advance one's own agenda. The pain, trauma, and human tragedy that occurred calls all of us to work together and not to work against one another. It is a story of real people, real families, and a system that failed them. Our responsibility now is not to posture, but to fix what is broken and ensure that those that are responsible for this tragedy are held accountable. Across the various sectors of the public sector, there were lapses, and those must be acknowledged honestly. There were clearly a litany of failures, and that is why I've insisted that transparency guides our work, and those that failed in their duties, whether public servants or professionals, must face the consequences. I commit to you, and we commit to you, the grieving families, that justice will be sought and it will be served. Buildings don't collapse without reason, and they don't collapse on their own. Accountability cannot be optional when human tragedy takes place at the hands of human beings. The Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, through the Council for the Built Environment and its body, the Engineering Council of South Africa, has commissioned an in-depth investigation into what went wrong. But we already know that there is too little cooperation between entities like the Engineering Council of South Africa, the National Home Builders Registration Council, local authorities, and departments responsible for implementation and oversight. Ladies and gentlemen, we expect the final report from the Council for the Built Environment to be concluded by the end of May, and will also be handed to the South African Police Service. Ladies and gentlemen, I commit to returning to George and meeting you, the families, personally, to explain the findings and not simply expect you to read them in a newspaper. I do not want you to hear about what happened through the media. You deserve the dignity of direct explanations and for us to account to you. You deserve to be treated like grieving families seeking justice. We have a duty of care to brief you, and we will be guided on how to release these reports to ensure that the police are able to do their job. We are also actively engaging with the South African Police Service, the National Prosecuting Authority and regulatory bodies to ensure that where there is criminal liability, it is acted on swiftly. And no one should be above the law. Not an engineer, not a developer, or no official. But justice is not only about accountability, it is also about support. And I must acknowledge that in too many cases, families have been left without sufficient assistance, without closure, and in many cases, without the income their loved ones used to provide them. Where this support has been lacking, we will correct it. People didn't just lose loved sons and daughters, they lost breadwinners, caregivers, and parents. Our duty is to support them, not just with words, but with meaningful action and intervention. Another issue that cannot be ignored is the vulnerability of foreign nationals working on construction sites. There is evidence that some individuals who perished were migrant workers. Many of them, through legally documented, remain vulnerable to exploitation and are often excluded from proper site records. And this cannot continue. Our immigration and labour systems must work together to ensure that all workers, regardless of their nationality, are protected, documented, and included in all safety and labour protections. Dignity does not have borders. As we look ahead, we must build a new culture of safety in the built environment. Concrete is the second most used substance on earth after water. And reinforced concrete buildings have been built since the early 20th century. There is no excuse for a 5-story residential building to collapse in South Africa in 2024. The reforms we are driving are not simply technical, they are moral. And when we cut corners, when we delay reforms, when we tolerate incompetence, it is not contracts that get lost, but it is lives. To the families gathered here today, on behalf of government and in my personal capacity, I express again our deepest and sincerest condolences to you. And more than that, I commit to you that your loss will not be ignored. Your suffering will not be forgotten about. It will shape the real change that we want to see. We will work harder to build a construction sector that is ethical, safe, and accountable. We will overhaul the frameworks that failed you on that day. And we will not rest until we are confident that no family member must ever again experience the heartbreak that you have had to endure. This is our simple commitment to work for you and for South Africa. To paraphrase former United States President Ronald Reagan, when he said, and I quote, "We will never forget them, nor the last time we saw them as they slipped the surly bonds of earth to touch the face of God. May their souls continue to rest in eternal peace."